I think the other day we were talking about the phrase enlightened being, and I asked you, is there ultimately such a thing as an enlightened being?
Well, there's enlightened being where it is being. It's not a being.
Okay.
It is being. So there is awakeness, but there is no being that is awake. That is the discovery. There is no separate person, no separate individual. There is just the unfolding of this, of experience. It doesn't belong to anybody. And that is the discovery. So, although it looks to the observer as though there is a separate being there, what the enlightened being has discovered is that there is no being there. There is no separation. And that's the difficulty. That's the point at which language fails and description fails, and that's why the Buddha said everyone has to find it for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's non-communicable.
I mean, I know in my experience I see like a self-image of this body, and I see it doing things in the future, and so that really roots me in selfness.
Yeah, and you don't lose that capacity.
Yeah.
So the discovery is that even self-view is non-self. Like the Buddha could not have successfully taught for 45 years if he hadn't been able to employ that mental technique of seeing himself in a future with other people, because that's how we plan things, isn't it? We plan. I had to plan sorting out everything that I needed for this video to take place. The lights, the camera, the recorder, everything, the headphones, everything. So that you have to have that capacity to think about things in the first instance, and to be able to organise and think of yourself in relation to all of that going ahead. Now nothing gets lost, you don't lose that capacity, it's just that you see that capacity does not belong to anybody. It's just universe, just all part of the cosmic play. It doesn't belong to anybody.
So could you say that thing that we do then, when we do that, oh yeah, here I am sitting on a cushion, like I sort of visually see myself, or sitting on the chair meditating. Is that just another sort of function of the mind?
That's a perception arising on I don't know, if you've got your eyes closed and you're meditating. When we first sit down to meditate, we retain a sense, a perception of being in the room that we're in, of being in the chair that we're in. So there continues to be tactile sensations which are helping locate a hand, a foot. There are sounds which are locating us in space. So, and that's all just happening perfectly naturally by itself. It doesn't require a self to do it.
So it's not like there's someone there sitting there controlling everything.
I mean, in conventional terms, yes, of course, but in ultimate terms, you're breaking it down into what is actually happening. You're deconstructing it into what is actually happening, and then there's a synthesis too of seeing how it's all coming together through conditionality to form that wonderful ongoing conventional reality. So in ultimate terms, there is sense consciousness, there's the sensory contact, there's the arising of the sense base, the sense door, and the arising of the consciousness, arising of hearing, of seeing, of smelling, tasting, touching, and so forth. And then all this mental behaviour as well, such as perception, decision. For instance, you might be sitting there and you're saying, oh, I'm not really comfortable, I think I'll sit like this. Okay, so you had intention, you had decision, you had volition, all these different aspects of mind which are just going around doing their job. But there is no permanent perception, there is no permanent consciousness, there is no permanent decision, there is no permanent volition. It's all just arising and passing away, arising and passing away. So the thing is, you don't have to get rid of self-view. It's like we want to ensure success by doing what I've heard I've got to get rid of the self. So, well, there isn't a self to get rid of. So all you have to do is just keep watching things arise and pass away due to conditions, and you will see through the illusion of selfhood, see through the illusion of duality. That's all that is required to do. You don't have to do this superhuman thing of discover the self and then kick it out or anything like that, because it's just not necessary. All we're doing in insight meditation is looking at the truth of what is unfolding moment by moment. So we're not trying to change anything. But through that process, what is eliminated is delusion and wrong perceptions and wrong views that cause someone to crave and therefore to suffer. So if there is the perception of me sitting in the chair, we'll just recognise that as self-view or as a perception, acknowledge it, and observe the fact that it disappears again. Because if you say you get concentrated, you're watching the breathing, and you look, and because you're focusing, peripheral activities such as hearing, tactile sensations become less important, because you're just looking at the breathing process. And if you get properly absorbed in the breathing process, you cease to be aware of yourself in time, temporarily, because there's just absorption in what you're doing. We know that it happens when you watch a movie or listen to a really beautiful piece of music or get caught up in some vista, you're out walking or something, and you lose yourself. And that's when people are happiest, when they lose themselves in something else, in the other. And at that time, where is self-view? There is just no awareness of oneself as separate at all. There is just pure experiencing. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank
Is that what you're looking for?
Yes. Thank you.